Welcome to the Nourish You podcast, where we question the traditional model of dieting and nutrition and focus on choice, fun, and health for the whole mind, body, and spirit. I'm Jana, a non-traditional registered dietitian and well-being expert, and I want to challenge you to take 2% of your day today, listen to this episode, and make this your health win for the day. Pop in your earbuds, strap on your walking shoes, or pour a big glass of wine, whatever you need for today, and tune out the world as much as you can for the next 30 minutes, and let's fill up your cup. Welcome everyone back to the Nourish You podcast. I am so excited for today. Today has been awesome already. I'll give you context to this. We've been doing some binge podcasting today. So I'm so excited to share my guest with you, Amanda and Lunden. We are doing a hometown series as Amanda shared, where both these ladies are from Merced, which is where I was born and raised as well. So thank you for joining us today. I will let you introduce yourself. So go for it.
I'll go. So I'm Amanda Marchini. I am a wellness lifestyle mentor and a clean beauty advocate. And I say I failed to mention in my last introduction, I am also a mom of two. And that's important to note because it does play into a lot of who I am and why I do what I do or what I don't do some days.
Right. And I am Lunden Souza, also super happy to be here and excited and having fun in this podcasting marathon with all of you. I feel like, it's just very nourishing and uplifting, and we should just do this more often. So just putting that out there. I'm a life coach and NLP practitioner and host of Self Love and Sweat, the podcast. I'm also really passionate about clean skincare and paying attention to what we put on our skin. And I help women find solutions to that and potentially make an income doing it as well. And so, super happy to be here.
Yay. Thank you both for being here. I really appreciate your time and energy today. So I am known for asking a lot of questions and a lot of deep questions, and women will share like, Jana, I've never thought about that. So let's dive in. Let's do the asking the questions and answering them too. So the first question for you both is, what is one truth that you were taught growing up that no longer serves you?
I'll start.
Landon, I need you to take this one because again, Jana has me stumped.
They're good questions. She always has great questions. So a truth that I believed early on that is no longer a truth in my life, that I'll also add was like a really challenging, sticky, funky, fun experience to uncover, is that forgiveness doesn't mean that you have to negate what happened, or that even acknowledge to yourself that maybe what happened was okay. Forgiveness is a space to disconnect your attachment or your perceived attachment to a particular situation. And forgiveness can come with boundaries. And so just to give, a little bit of context, I just grew up in a family where I believed family to be one thing. And then when I wasn't, let's say, dancing to the right beat or doing my own thing, it was not okay. And I was really, I had the opportunity to unlearn what family is, what it means, what it could be. And so in my former model of the world, forgiveness really meant like, okay, I forgive you and I have to tell you and it has to be okay. And now I really realize like forgiveness is me. It sets me free and it can come with boundaries. So I can forgive you and also, walk away as well.
Oh, man, that is a good one that like hits the soul of, I think, every single person. And it's a tricky one too, especially when you love the person or care about them, and also know that you have to love and care for yourself too. So I love that you shared that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I would say for me, a truth that no longer serves me would be feeling like the person that other people either told me I was or should be isn't necessarily the person that I had to be or am today. So people putting labels on me like she's the shy girl, or, she lacks confidence, or, she has body image issues. She doesn't have, she has low self-esteem. I, as an adult, look back when someone will use those labels with me again. And I'm thinking like, I don't think I'm ugly, but if I say something that might allude to me not liking what I look like in that moment, let's say, doesn't mean that I have low self-esteem or that I lack confidence. It might just be like, I'm not feeling my vibe today, right? And so the labels or the words that other people put on us as our truths don't have to be our truths. And it's taken me a really long time to get there. And it's still a work in progress, I think, every day. Being, the shy girl or the girl without, with no confidence. And I'm like, look at me now. Who's shy? Who doesn't have confidence?
Exactly. Oh gosh, that's so, so true. And I think that can really, those labels and those thought patterns and that identity aspect can really prevent us from being in the moment of who we are now. And so as you are able to shed or, create distance between that and today, it really helps you reframe this moment. So I think that's so powerful. So powerful. I wanted to share just a little bit on that for myself, because this is a one that I see so often, again, with the women that I coach, is these old narratives that we're taught that no longer serve us as adults, but that we still hang on to out of this like allegiance to our family. And one of the big ones that I grew up with is that you had to hustle for your worth. Like you had to do to like a breaking point in order to show any worthiness. And so now it's about, okay, I don't need to do more. I need to be more. And that's really helped with changing the cadence, the pace, the presence that I have with people. And it's very interesting because the doing was also associated with like financial abundance. And what I'm finding is that that's not true either. Like you don't have to do as much and you can actually be more financially abundant. So it's been very much so a reworking. And it's like, it's kind of weird because you're in this space of like, I don't know, but now I know, and you can't unsee it. And so how do you keep like leaning towards that? But I wanted to start with this question because I think it helps with just the listeners that are tuning in to say like, oh yeah, I feel that too. Or, oh, what could be a new truth that could be more productive for them today. So thank you so much for sharing that. I absolutely love that. And I know that there's so many women that are going to resonate with what you've shared too. So with that, it sounds like in the narrative space, and Lunden, you've already shared like from a word perspective, really tuning into how people say things. This question really comes to, how do you speak to yourself on a daily basis? Like, what are the words that you share with yourself every single day?
You want to start, Amanda? You want me to start?
You go.
Yeah, I would say the way I speak to myself and even others is carefully and gracefully, because I've done journal sessions before where I'll just be like, what is my brain saying? Right. And we talked on another episode about like if it's fact or not, or true or not. And so I'll write down some of the things that my brain is telling me to acknowledge that they're not true. And there will be moments where I buy in for a second and then need to like, wait, nope, recalibrate a little bit. And so I would say I speak to myself carefully and becoming more and more okay with, some of those hiccups or those moments where you're like, damn, I didn't say something very nice to me. Let me like recorrect it. And even like when I'm driving, I don't drive that much because I just think the world is better when I'm in the backseat or in an Uber. But we'll sometimes drive and then I'll be like driving and someone will do something and I'll like flip them off and say something and then be like, no, I don't mean it. Sorry, I love you. And like keep driving, it's like literally that awkward and it happens. So I think when I think of carefully, it's like, we're going to have those moments where we maybe talk to ourselves in a negative down way or others as well. And I think as long as we're correcting that and like being like, nope, building that detour in our brain, like we're not going that pathway anymore. Like this is the direction, like follow the cones, go this direction. I think I would say that is how I talk to myself. And then also like we talked about morning routines on another episode. And I just sometimes think it's important for us to like have some intentionality and intercept before the autopilot comes in. And so that could be, you know, when I know I'm in a funk, or maybe I'm going to start my period, or I'm PMSy, whatever, I'll have those cheerleader moments where I'm like, I love myself. I am enough. I'm great. I love this zit on my forehead. I'm excited. The period's coming, you know, like I'll just clap for myself and cheer myself kind of on in the direction I want to go. So yeah, carefully. And just, yeah, sometimes I knew how empowering it was for me to hear that, like, just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. And until you like decide, okay, is it not? It's just something that's passing. And so as it's passing, be a little graceful with yourself.
Yeah. That careful. You're like, London's like, I am woman, hear me roar. For me, I think, and I actually love that you shared that, because I wanted to be mindful of my answer, but I also wanted to be very honest with my answer. My internal dialogue is oftentimes more harsh than my external dialogue. My girls are the center of my world, and I have nieces, and I will never let them hear me say, I am fat. I look, you know, I can't wear this. And there's a difference between like just not wearing something because you just don't feel good in it, but not because they hear the words, I am too fat or I am ugly. I always want them to hear positive self-talk when it comes to themselves. Inside is a different story. Sometimes I am thinking those harsh, you know, comments and thoughts. But I really, I try to, you know, be more, be more like London. Like, I love to zit on my head. No, I don't. I actually really hate it. But but I want to teach my girls by example, by the words that I'm using, that, you know, they are beautiful, that women are beautiful. And so it is hard for me. Like, this is like a daily practice that I have to be mindful of the words, the things that I speak to myself and out loud, even if it's different than what I might be feeling. And like you said, and you alluded to, Jana said on one of our other episodes, feelings are not facts. And that is something that I am definitely working on with my internal dialogue, for sure.
I love the honesty for both of you, because, and the key word that really comes to mind that you shared, Amanda, is it's a practice. It's not like, it's not something that you do once and then it's like, oh, instantly I feel amazing about myself every single day. Like every single day you wake up, it's going to be different every single day. And so that's why the practice and the consistency is so important, because we have to remind ourselves on a daily or literally on a minute by minute basis sometimes that there is a different narrative than the one that I'm feeling inside. And so I think that that's just a great reminder that it's not all positive and it's not all negative, right? Like it's really just this like shift, this ebb and flow of emotions, because we are all human. Love that. So when you're okay, so that narrative is really important. And then how you care for yourself is really important. And I think self-care is really getting, you know, a much larger, it's becoming a larger part of the dialogue, that it's important to care for yourself. What are ways that you both care for yourself that are part of like, okay, this is what I have to do in order to feel really good?
I'm going to pass it to you, Amanda.
Sure. So for me, again, everything goes back to what I model for my children. Having like mommy time, me time, especially in the mornings. Sometimes that they're with me in that me time, but it's still having them like respect my me time, because they're 4 and 2. Like, unless I'm waking up at 4 a.m., it's just not going to happen. So I have to like navigate that. But one big thing is, well, always like my coffee, and I just have to have my coffee to just be me, really. But my morning and evening skincare routines have really become just this like 5 minutes of solitude, of aromatherapy practice. Like, our skincare products smell so amazing. Just a shameless plug. they're so amazing. And I can literally like, I don't know if people will be watching this, but like cup my hands over my face and just like take a big inhale. And I just like need that moment. So like I look forward to it. I like crave the benefits of just having those 5 minutes or so. And sometimes that's like in the evening when the girls are in the bath. But it's still like me doing my mom duties, but honoring that time for myself for that self-care, because after bath time and bedtime and, doing the dishes and putting the house to sleep, I don't want to be too tired or too lazy to take that time for myself. So, it looks different for me every day, but it is a top priority. It's like one of my non-negotiables every morning, every evening, my skincare routine for sure. And then prioritizing rest and sleep is another big one. And again, because I have kids, it's not always what I would like it to look like, but I know I am not my best self if I'm not prioritizing sleep and rest in my day, or even being able to, catch up at some point throughout the week, for sure.
Nice. I agree with the skincare stuff being part of my self-care rituals too. And I learned that from my mom. Like I remember being a kid, I don't think I was 4 or 2, but maybe like just starting junior high, and I got like my skincare routine. It was like a wash and a toner and a moisturizer, and just like got in the flow of like doing that with my mom. And so that feels just very nurturing. And also, those nights when you sleep with your makeup on and you wake up in the morning, like it's just so much better. And I just feel like physically better when I do take care of myself in that way. Another practice of self-care for me, mainly because of just, setting boundaries and stuff too, is a major part of self-care. But I think going even further, what's helped me is getting better at communication and being able to like communicate how I feel and what I might need in a better way. So I feel like I'm able to love on myself more, care for myself even more. And I will say it was scary. I didn't realize how powerful, solid connecting to communication is, especially with people that like you're really close to and know all the versions of you. I think that that's been very helpful to build my confidence and build my love for myself. So I would add communication. And then also, I think there's a lot of mundane, everyday things that we're doing that if we decide, we can make that an act of self-love. Like you said, coffee in the morning, right? Or I know, Amanda, one time you mentioned like having time for yourself, like in the car parked in your driveway, and your neighbor was like, is everything okay? Like you always, and you're like, this is my me, So I think finding that magic in the mundane of being like, yeah, it's not like, I'm checking into the Four Seasons and getting a hot stone massage. I just like am sitting in my driveway, like acknowledging my breath for a moment and taking some time. So I think self-love for me also looks like looking for more opportunities for self-love, even in like the small little ways.
Yeah, I love that you share that, Lunden, because I think there is this like inclination when it comes to self-care that it also has to be like super expensive. Mm-hmm. And that really makes it unattainable for most people, versus when we're really looking at self-care, it's like these things don't cost anything. Like so many moms will share with me that they will lock themselves in their car or the bathroom, and that is their time because that is just the opportunity that they have. So take the opportunities that you do have, and it doesn't have to cost you a single dime in order to make that happen. And I think that that's something that needs to be spoken to a little bit more, because now it makes it accessible for what can you do in your day-to-day routine versus it, again, being like outside there, right? Like, and it has to be like super expensive in order to be doing it right. And that's just not what it is at all. It's really your micro moments that are just for yourself. So love that.
Yeah. And I think you can find magic when you lock yourself in a bathroom, for sure. I'm not a mom and I found magic in the locked bathroom too. So go lock yourself in the bathroom, whoever's listening, and see what magic you can find, because there's something about just, like you even said, shut the door, lock it. This is my moment. I'm just going to care. I don't know what that means. I'm just going to do it and just see what happens, a little clarity, few deep breaths, and you really have all that you need.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I agree. I think people get lost in the fluffy self-care. I think we talked about that on the last episode, Jana. And self-care is literally taking care of yourself. So whatever you need to take care of yourself in that moment is self-care. Like it all counts, right? If that's what you need, then it's self-care.
Yeah.
Whether it's fluffy or being locked in the bathroom.
all the it's all
Someone's listening
The
to
four
this
season
right now.
sounds really nice though.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so this next one is really, so I'm such a curious person, just by nature, and I love to learn how people do things in general. And one of the themes, and then also you can see themes in human behavior that really are supportive of growth or not supportive. And I've found that those that really thrive in the space of caring for themselves, they've had to change their standards and their expectations. So with that in mind, what are certain standards that you hold for yourself or for others, or what are like certain expectations also that you hold for yourself and others that really help you thrive?
I think that having less expectations of others helps you thrive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, yeah, I think we can oftentimes find ourselves in a pickle when we start to expect people to behave a certain way, or expect that because someone says something, that said action is expected to be followed. And I think that's huge, to release expectations of others and have, yeah, just clear expectations of yourself. And so for me, that comes in the form of core values and setting the rules to my game, as I say. So I know when I'm fulfilling the core value, when I'm not, and a boundary to make sure I set to like protect that core value and that standard. I do a lot of work or follow the work really closely of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I do a lot of his meditations, go to a lot of his retreats and things. And one of the things he says in a YouTube video that I found and watched, and I've shared it with a lot of friends and clients, is go out, or what do you want in a person, and an outcome, in a job, whatever, make a list of those things and then become it. So if you want more of that in your life, you have to be it first. You can't be looking for the missing puzzle piece or the thing outside of yourself. And so when I set my core values, it's very much like an expectation for self, and also like it's the bouncer at the club. So like they're like checking, are you in alignment with the core values? Okay, you can pass through. If not, like, set that one, I don't know, you can maybe be from afar, maybe you get like, access every now and then, but like who's really, getting through on a regular basis is because I've set a lot of those standards and expectations. And I'll add, it's only around me. So even though there's times, and I'll catch myself too, where I'm like, why aren't they? And I'm like, no, that's your standard, Lunden. And this person is showing, sorry. And this person is showing that, they're not in, sorry, I got a little distracted from that call, but this, sorry, what did I want to say here? It'll come to me.
That you will like check yourself because
Yes.
You think like, why are they doing this?
Exactly. So instead of projecting my expectations on them, I just more check myself and be like, what can you learn from getting your pot stirred or getting this like fizzled a little bit? Is this something you need to lean into and be more open to hearing? Or is this an opportunity for you to like set another boundary because it's just like the same thing in a different mask or something, if you will? And so I just think, yeah, setting less expectations for others and higher, but yeah, I don't want to say higher expectations of yourself, but just like more clear, well thought out. This is what it looks like when I'm being, this is what it looks like when I'm not. This is when it's not how I set a healthy boundary, and having that dialogue with myself helps a lot. So I would say like creating the standards, having the standards, and then bringing them to life too is really helpful, because it's one thing to be like, I want to be courageous or I want to be honest, but what does that really look like when you're in the real world, and how can you, be that in only the way in your everyday life.
So true. And I think that one of the key words that you shared, Lunden, is the boundaries aspect. It really does come down to what boundaries align best for you and how do you articulate those out to others.
So I would say for me, two thoughts come to mind. One related to London saying, have checking your expectations and maybe having fewer expectations. As a mom navigating my mental health journey postpartum, something that I've really become aware of is feeling like when my expectations are not met, that really throws me for a loop, and my mental health goes just through the roof, because I have expectations of what my day is supposed to look like, what kind of mom I'm supposed to be. And I am not the narrator of this show. Let me tell you who is: my kids. And when things don't go as planned, and anything, even just this morning, getting ready to record this podcast, I could not have planned there was going to be road construction. It took me 30 extra minutes. And so my expectation was, I'm going to leave early. I'm going to get them to school on time. They had a great morning. They listened to me. Like, we had an easy morning. Everything was going as planned. My expectation was, I'm going to be early. And I was not, because there was road construction and I had to detour and it took extra time. So having those expectations, but then also giving yourself grace when those expectations aren't met. And that is huge. And then the other is, at the end of the day, are you a good person? Just don't be an asshole. Like, if you didn't, speak kindly to yourself, if you didn't eat the right foods, if you didn't work out, if you didn't go for a walk, if you didn't drink enough water, were you a kind person? Did you show kindness? Did you show love? Did you show compassion? Like, if you can say yes, then you're set. Like, those standards and expectations of just being a decent human being in the world today, I think is like, okay, you're ahead above the rest in my book anyway. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on your podcast, but
yeah. Well, I love what both of you shared too. Like, in there is the permission to shift, like, of being able to, yes, XYZ ideally should happen, but is that what really happened? And if not, then you have the permission to shift to still make things happen, right? Like, not to, because in both of those viewpoints that you shared, like, it really still allows you to stay in the game and moving forward versus kind of maybe stuck or stagnant and like really throwing our hands up and saying, I just can't do this. So I love that, of being able to navigate that really in a very different way. All right, the last question for today, it's two parts, but the first one is, how do you know when you're in your own way? And the second part to that is, how do you shift yourself? So whoever wants to go first on that one.
I'll go. So I think, how do you know when you're in your own way? I might have to ask you to repeat the second part of the question, but how do you know when I'm in my own way? I think it's kind of how I coach myself and clients to just recognize patterns. Like, if it's the same story, the same pattern, recurrent obstacle, same thing, can pretty much guarantee like something's getting in the way, right? And I like to take ownership. So if I'm, in my own way, I think I kind of know it. I think what's helped is communication, clearer, better, healthier communication with myself. I realize I've felt, stuck or have getting in my own way, so I think better communication with myself, better communication with others is also helpful, so that they can understand and understand a bit more how I might be feeling when I do notice that I'm getting in my own way, because sometimes that's challenging because, of my beautiful brain and the way that it works and the way I'm trying to shift things every now and then. So sometimes it's nice to like, okay, I'm in this feeling because this happened. So now, and I feel like I've had conversations where I'm like, I'm really proud of myself, because I'm like, historically that would have shown up in like a teenager tantrum. And now I have a better way to articulate that, for sure. And then it's kind of like the Taylor Swift song. Like, it's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. Like, I just kind of like listen to that song, or think about just like, my mentor often says, if you've got an issue. So I think about that too. And I just try to have a bit more fun with it, because we're going to get in our own way. We're going to have moments of resistance. We're going to have moments where we're walking up against the same wall, getting hit in the same way each time. And I'm just grateful for songs that speak it out sometimes, so I can just like laugh about it or have like a funny, quirky little phrase in the back of my head that just reminds me it's okay if I found myself kind of all over the place. It's always available to kind of get back into the driver's seat, like adjust the mirror and like keep going,
Yes, because I think like a lot of women have shared with me, like they feel frustrated because they shouldn't be in their own way. Like it's only an experience to them. And all of us on here have gone in our own ways at some point in time. And I love how you shared that, Lunden, of like, if it's the same narrative all the time, you're probably in your own way. And so again, this is a human experience. We're all experiencing this, but how do you shift it? That's the key. How do you keep moving forward, not in perfection, but in progression of who you are as a person?
Yeah. And I'll share one other thing. I talk about me and my friend Allie a lot. She's like a soulmate in a friend form, but we'll like say no out loud. Like her and I have this like built-in kind of like, I know when she's doing it, she knows when I'm doing it. One time we were in the grocery store and I was like looking for something and I was like, no. And she's like, did you have a thought? And I'm like, yes. So we'll literally like, if a thought's coming in that's not empowering and we're looking to shift it, we'll sometimes be like, no. And just, so it's not that it doesn't come. It's just like, how do you train your dog? Right. I'm like, my mind is like my dog. How can I like have better tools and systems and reward pathways set up so like it does what I want it to do?
Yeah.
I love that. For me,
so many women in grocery stores say no out loud.
Right?
No. And you're like, wait, you don't want this? Yes, I want that, but no to what's going on.
Moment. I love that. I can tell, like, I can feel my energy shift. And I'm sure that, like, that's like, it's the same patterns coming up again. And I think for me, I'm getting in my own way when I'm not prioritizing self-care or not like walking my walk. Right. And for me, what helps is I feel like it probably takes me a little bit too long to recognize it, which is quite unfortunate because I wish I could like see it, feel it, and address it sooner. But being in community with like-minded people, women especially, and being able to have like sounding boards and feeling like, okay, the only one who goes through this, right? Even the life coach, even the dietitian, like they experience it too. And being able to have someone else help, not that you can't like shift your own energy, right? But I think it helps to have that perspective of, because when you're in your own way, I think it's hard. Like you're almost like you have like your blinders on, right? And so you need someone else to help you take off the blinders and help you see. And even if that means like picking you back up, like maybe you need that pep talk, you need someone to remind you of all of the great things you are, of, what you're doing and why you're doing it. And maybe you've helped me do this, or remember that time you said that. And because you might need that, extra reminder so that you can get past that block. Because I don't think anyone should have to do anything alone. And so having a support system, I think, to help for me is personally a good way to be able to shift myself and get out of my own way and be reminded of like, okay, what is this path I'm on? Why am I doing this? Why am I here? And sharing that definitely. And then dance parties with my kids are always really fun. We love dance parties. So blast the music, blast the Taylor Swift. My youngest right now is really into telling Alexa, play the Amazon music. And you don't want to know what comes on when you ask for Amazon music. I'm like, no, stop. But I mean, it's just so much fun because you totally can change your energy and get out of your own way with a fun little dance party. Try it.
True. And it's humbling, but also empowering. It's humbling to know like that it is you, and it's also empowering to know that it is you, right? Like, so how do we like just own that and then be able to move forward? And I love that you shared that, Amanda, of like the community is so important, because they'll send you the messages of like, keep going, or like you're, you know, like you're beautiful, or like you're strong, or like we need to hear those things. And I think like for myself, one of the ways that I know that I'm in my own way is when I get ultra independent. Like I start pulling myself back and I'm like, I can do all the things. That's when I know I'm in my own way, because that's not true. I can't do all the things and I need all the people. And so it's just like, how do we recognize like what is that pattern? Like you said, Lunden, like how, like there's things that we go back to that are our narrative. And so when those come up, it's like, okay, I'm here now. What do I do to get out of this? It's just so key to not stay there for too long, maybe for a while, because sometimes we need a while, but now we need to move forward with it.
Well, and also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go for it.
I was just going to say, like, you know, that community of women where you said, like, maybe somebody does need to tell us, you know, we're beautiful, we're doing a great job, but also like that humbling experience of being okay with hearing the truth, you know, like, yes, you are in your own way. And what are you going to do to get out of it? And, or this is what you need to do. Like, you can't see it, but I'm going to tell you what you need to do. And that's why I love, like, you know, this community so much, is because you do have those, you know, people in your life that you can trust, that can tell you, and you can hear that hard truth and then be like, okay, cool. I couldn't check myself today. You did. Let's move on.
Yeah. Make feedback normal. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. And in staying, I think, engaged is important. And I love that you guys mentioned that, because for me, I'm much more introverted, very much more of a recluse. Like I joke often. My boyfriend's the same way too. I'm like, I think it would be about a month that I didn't talk to people before I started like wanting that, you know. For some people it's a day, an afternoon, but I really could just be like me and I don't know, the passed away volleyball, like we could be friends. And I think that it's so important to go back into that arena, like with the community, with the people, to call you out and say, if, you know, there's a hard truth you need to hear. But we talked about it, I think on one of the other podcasts we did, is like to be reminded of your greatness. And I have friends who call me a lot and are like, just one event, I give them a little feedback. They're like, it's great thing, you know? And I'm like, why can't I do that? I can, I just don't. So I started to do it just with people I'm more close with. I have like my boyfriend and my best friend, Allie, who I'll really be like, hey, this is my like internal dialogue. Here's what's going on, with like the permission for them to help me like gain the perspective, like Amanda talked about, or like see the water when you're the fish, of like, I need that. And so maybe someone listening is like me, where you're more introverted, you more of a recluse, or like Jana said, we try to do all the things and wear all the hats for ourselves. It's like, it's okay to be that friend that calls and has an issue. And I'm talking to myself right now, because sometimes I'm like, I can't be the friend. I have to help people. I can't get help. You know, you have that dumb shit that happens in your mind. And so pick up the phone and call that person and just, list, like, you know, let them hear you, because usually we hear each other when we hear each other, or hear ourselves when we hear each other. And it's really helpful. So I always have to remind myself, like, call your friend, like, stop doing this alone. Why are you doing this? It's no reason. Yeah, there's certain things I'm going to have to work through, and only I can work through them. Duh. But I also need that help from my friend.
So true. Well, I'm pretty positive that this narrative is helping other women that tune in. And we did a series today, so there's going to be 3 podcasts for them to tune into. If you both could share where they can find you through social media or other platforms, I'd love for them to be able to connect with you as well.
Yeah, it's Amanda Marchini on Instagram, and I am the host of the One Where You Live Well podcast on Spotify, Apple iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.
And I am Life Like Lunden everywhere. And you can find my podcast, Self Love and Sweat, the podcast, available everywhere you listen to podcasts. And thank you guys for your time. This was so much fun.
This was so much fun.
I've been talking, for hours. I'll keep going. So I hope you guys are listening. I'm so happy.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day-to-day to tune in. If you love today's content, leave me a review letting me know exactly what you liked best, and remember to share my podcast with others to join the Nourish You community. If you want more great content like this between episodes, I encourage you to join my mailing list. You can click the link below in the show notes or check out my website at www.healthwins.org, and let's stay in touch. Until next time, I'm Jana. Talk soon.